The history of humanity can be read as a vast stream of hopes deposited in ruins. Entire civilizations rose upon ideas of virtue, progress, and order, only to be corroded from within by the very things they most despised: cowardice, corruption, the apathy of the righteous. From the moment the first man contemplated fire and saw himself capable of dominating nature, goodness began to depend on an active, costly, and uncertain choice. Evil, on the other hand, always crept in with ease, with its promises of immediate pleasure, simple domination, and reckless reproduction. The decay of the present world with its visible moral, cultural, and spiritual symptoms is not a product of chance, nor is it divine punishment. It is the direct result of a brutal civilizational asymmetry. The good no longer wish to have children. The wicked do. This is not a simplistic judgment about who is good or bad based on rigid moral standards. It is about the radical difference between those who act with awareness, who reflect, who care about the impact of their actions, who wonder whether the world they will leave behind is bearable, and because of that often decide not to have children, and those who simply do not care, who reproduce as a blind biological impulse, who see children as extensions of their ego, instruments of legacy, or even tools for perpetuating the same cycles of ignorance, violence, indifference, and hatred. The gap between these two groups is vast and historically decisive. Look at any critical crossroads in history. Dictatorships, periods of war, totalitarian regimes, moral collapses, all exploited the vacuum created by the withdrawal of the sensible. When those who understand the gravity of existence choose to remain silent, to abstain, or worse, to forego reproduction, they deliver the world into the hands of those who do not hesitate. And those who do not hesitate inevitably teach their children the same blindness, the same brutality. Civilization then bends slowly to entropy. Nietzsche, when writing about eternal recurrence, proposed a radical thought experiment. What if everything had to repeat itself eternally, just as we live it now? Could we endure such a weight? The good often cannot. They feel the anguish of time as a crushing responsibility. They ask themselves, how can I bring a child into this world? How can I prepare an innocent soul for this sea of horrors? Meanwhile, the wicked, drunk on unconsciousness, ask no such questions. The world, to them, is an open field of domination, multiplication, conquest. They expand biologically, culturally, spiritually, while the good retreat, castrate themselves, fall silent. In ancient Greece, Plato warned that the price of not engaging in politics is being ruled by your inferiors. Updating the formula, one might say, the price of not having children is living in a world ruled by the children of the worst. The modern world, with its landscape of noise, vulgarity, and institutionalized violence, is not merely a result of economic, geopolitical, or technological failures. It is, above all, a genetic and cultural reflection. Those with deep moral consciousness who could teach ethics, beauty, justice, self-discipline, chose not to bring life into the world, out of fear, despair, or responsibility. Meanwhile, the reckless reproduce like weeds and raise their children in their own ignorant image. There is a powerful scene in the film Children of Men, where the entire world is sterile, and the birth of a single child becomes an almost religious event. Humanity, without a future, plunges into barbarism. But what the film doesn't show is that this world didn't emerge from a single calamity, but from a buildup of small withdrawals. That's exactly what is happening today, even though fertility has not ceased. What is ceasing is the fertility of the just. Those who most understand life's fragility are the least willing to repeat it, and this surrenders the earth to barbarians. Jung once said that guilt always seeks punishment. Perhaps the good punish themselves for knowing too much. They feel guilt for wanting a better world, guilt for desiring children amid the chaos, guilt for not knowing how to protect them. But this guilt, when it becomes withdrawal, leaves a dangerous vacuum. the archetype of the father disappears, and in its place remain fragile, absent figures replaced by impersonal structures, state, algorithms, celebrities that educate with brutality and efficiency. The spirit is domesticated by those who do not respect it. The soul of childhood, which should blossom under the light of high moral values, is molded by those who do not even recognize the existence of the soul. Today's culture is pregnant with demons and orphaned of saints. It is a terrifying symbolic inversion. While the best hesitate, the worst march forward. They march with slogans, with weapons, with social media, with easy narratives. They create emotional, intellectual, and literal armies. They not only have children, they program them, and they do it with near religious zeal. They will teach from an early age how to lie, how to win at any cost, how to hate, how to repeat slogans instead of thinking, how to mock beauty and revere the grotesque. They will teach that the world is a jungle, and kindness is weakness. Meanwhile, the good think, hesitate, lament. We must ask, what good is knowledge if it doesn't reproduce itself? What use is lucidity if it is not passed down? Knowledge without heirs is like an abandoned temple. It becomes ruin. The world is full of abandoned temples, of grand ideas left to rot, of eternal values with no voices to pronounce them. And why? Because their bearers refuse to multiply, either physically or spiritually. They built libraries, but not disciples, made art, but not children, preserved the light, but did not transmit it. Hannah Arendt said that to educate is to introduce the young into a world that existed before them and will remain after them. When the good fail to educate, through absence or fear, they hand this introduction to the worst possible guides. And so, the children of the wicked grow up in a universe where cruelty is the norm, aesthetics is pornography, virtue is a punchline. It's not that the wicked are especially powerful. They simply face no resistance, because resistance was never born, literally. And here lies the cruel irony of our time. Those who could bring light choose silence. Those who most understand the value of childhood refuse to offer it. In the name of ethics, they commit a tragic ethical error. They leave the world in the hands of those who should never even touch its surface. We must recognize that goodness without descendants is not only biologically sterile but also culturally, spiritually, and civilizationally barren. A good that doesn't reproduce is doomed to be forgotten. A value not transmitted ceases to be a value. Dostoevsky wrote that beauty will save the world, but he forgot to add, only if it has children. Because beauty, if not taught, appreciated, cultivated, defended, dies, just like justice, courage, compassion. The world is not evil because evil has won, but because good has withdrawn. Evil simply filled the empty spaces, and those empty spaces arise when the wombs of the just go dry, not from infertility, but from fear. When the homes of the good close, not from impossibility, but from despair. When the arms that should embrace choose to remain crossed. This is the moment for a symbolic turning point. The good must understand that it is not enough to wish for a better world. They must create it, literally, bearing children, educating children, protecting children, instructing children. This is the deepest revolution one can undertake today, because it is silent, invisible to algorithms, yet powerful in the decades to come. A child raised with ethics, with aesthetics, with awareness is worth more than 1,000 manifestos. A child who understands the value of truth is a bastion against the collapse of the real. A child who knows how to love is an antidote to the cold cruelty of the modern world. Of course, it is not enough to merely have children biologically. One must also adopt them spiritually. Be a mentor, a guide, an example. Reproduce goodness not just through procreation, but through propagation. But the good must realize that their absence is costing too much. With each day they hesitate, the world darkens. With each generation they do not form, civilization weakens. With each child they leave to the chaos, entropy grows. Time does not wait. Evil advances, and good overthinks. So let the good reflect. But after reflection, let them act. Let them love, let them educate, let them generate, let them resist fear with hope, despair with creation. The future is a house that needs living foundations, and those foundations are made of children, of words, of actions, of sacrifices. Let hesitation be overcome by courage. Let lucidity bear heirs. Let light have descendants.